Hey everybody, it's Wally here, and I'm excited that you're joining us again for another edition of Talon Talk. That's where we all sit back and we talk nothing but North Forney football, and this week we get to talk another big win. They played Royse City. They welcomed the Bulldogs at Citibank Stadium, and quite frankly, they put a whooping on them. Final score was 68-27. And it really wasn't ever a game. It was a blowout from the very beginning. North Forney took 1 minute to score a touchdown, which has kind of become their MO here all season long. 1 minute in, they score a touchdown, and it's over from there. A couple touchdowns in, it's 20-0 at one point. North Forney was really interesting how they started out this game. Of course, last year at Royse City, it was their only district win for North Forney, and it was Calvin Ribera's coming out party. Not a lot of people really knew who he was, how good he was. He rushed for over 100 yards last year against them. He was coming off another 240-plus yard performance the week before against Poteet. Royse City they were gearing up to stop Calvin Ribera. So what did the Falcons do? First possession, they come out, 5 wide receivers, no running backs in the backfield with Colby. Colby runs the first 2 times, throws the last 2 times, scores a touchdown, and from there on, Royse City just could not keep up. The Falcons had 467 total yards of offense compared to just 341 for Royse City, which a lot of that came kind of late in the game once it was already decided and once it was already over. North Forney also had 233 passing yards, all from Colby. He added 4 touchdowns to go along with those 233 yards passing. Rushing the ball, it was just as equally good for North Forney. 233 yards rushing from the Falcons, and it was really spread out. It wasn't one person really taking the load, and we'll kind of get to that in a minute, how it was just spread out from many different Falcons on the ground attack. 210 yards rushing for Royse City. They were able to kind of run the ball. That's been their bread and butter all year long is running the ball, and they were able to do it a little bit against North Forney, but the Falcons defense, for the most part all night long, really at least kept them out of the end zone, if nothing else. For Royse City, their numbers on the night, just over 100 yards passing for Matthew Yelverton. He did have 1 touchdown with that. North Forney's cornerbacks, all their secondary really played well, and their defensive line put pressure on them all night long. Running the ball is, like I said, that's the rushing attack. The ground attack is where they kind of got some business done. 158 yards for the the junior Bryce Martinez. Him and Yelverton and Peyton Pitcheroff, the other running back who had 64 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. They're going to be somebody to keep an eye on the next couple of years as far as district play goes. But for this night, Falcons took care of business. And then Elijah Yelverton, Matthew Yelverton's brother, the quarterback's brother, had 70 yards receiving and a touchdown. Flipping over to North Forney's stats for that night, of course, he talked about Colby, 233 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. He's a touchdown machine, and my man crush. But that's not where he stopped. He also did it on the ground. He led the Falcons in rushing yards with 86 on the night and a touchdown to go along with that. Calvin wasn't quiet, though. He had 58 yards. They didn't use him a whole lot. Calvin had 58 yards rushing and 3 rushing touchdowns. He was kind of their hammer punching it in the end zone. Nate Miller came in, had 45 yards rushing and a touchdown. Corey Johnson had a couple of jet sweeps for 26 yards, and Jordan Carroll also got in there, as did TJ Dickinson late. Once again, a spread-out effort for the Falcons rushing the ball, 233 yards from 6 different players. And then receiving for the Falcons, Jaden Brawl led the way with 71 yards receiving and a touchdown. Jackson Innes, 52 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an amazing catch. One-handed 30-yard touchdown snag. And I say snag because it was just one-hand snag for a touchdown from Colby Suits. It was amazing. And I definitely have to mention Jordan Carroll's amazing play on one of the onside kicks, sprawling out, laying parallel to the field as far as he could reach, one hand keeping the onside kick in bounds, giving North Forney great field position at the beginning of that game. Like I said, and that really just kind of led to all the touchdowns that North Forney scored. It wasn't much of a game. From start to finish, it was dominated by the Falcons' offense. Their defense pitched in, caused a couple of turnovers. That really kind of put the Falcons back in great scoring position every time. And another dominating Falcons win. That's all I can really say. But stick around. Up next, we've got running back Calvin Ribera, number 34, breakout player. For this is what DFW Sports Day HS tells us. Calvin Ribera in studio for Talent Talk next.
Hey y'all, Wil Riggs here for Talon Talk, and of course, with me right now is Calvin Ribera, senior running back, number 34, for your North 40 Falcons. Now, the offense is a bit of a chameleon this year, as in, the offense can air it out. Colby can throw it downfield all day long, but, we're going to cover the pass. We're going to double cover Jordan Carroll. Insert the workhorse running back where you get to pound the rock quite a bit. It's been kind of a cool season for you because, your coming out party was last year at Royse City. You really came out and, you pounded it hardcore the rest of last year, and you picked up where you left off. Let's see here, 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns.
Yes.
8.3 yards per carry. Some would say it's a pretty good average.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't have half of that stuff if it wasn't from offensive line. Like, those guys are doing a tremendous job this year. Blocking up front, they've really stepped it up from last year. Everything they're doing is amazing, tremendous work.
Now, of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that Calvin's also the homecoming king. So it's been a pretty good football season for you now, right?
Yeah, it has been good, enjoyable.
So it's been good stuff. Actually, when you did the homecoming thing, you did it in all your uniform and everything,
yes.
Right? This guy right here. So one of the things like last week, let's talk about Royse City a little bit. You didn't have like a whole lot of yards, but you did touch the end zone 3 times.
Yes, last week we were really all-around offense, a lot of passing. Everyone got a touch last week. All the receivers was doing good, and we were just pretty much everyone was getting the ball. Everyone was having a good time. Everyone was involved last week. And
I know personal accomplishments don't mean a lot to you personally. You're like, I'd rather win as a team. You guys have struggled winning before this year, and it's frustrating. But this year, you guys get to take that frustration out. They got the second highest scoring offense in the entire state of Texas. Last year it was, last week it's, you're the 4th highest, and y'all decided, well, we're just going to throw 67 out there. You guys score points with the best of them.
Yes.
I mean, on HP, one of the best defenses in the district, you guys still put up 42 on them. I mean, we didn't come out on top on that one, the lone blemish this year, but you still put 42 points up on a defense that's been pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So you guys, as an offense, what's more fun to you? Breaking a big 40 or 50-yard gain down the field, or that 1-yard touchdown plunge?
Honestly, what feels better is the touchdown because it's helping the team. Like, I'm trying to help the team win. I mean, I care less about the stats and everything. I'm trying to make the team win. But as far as, like, me personally, like, it feels good to have a 40, 50-yard run, but the touchdown does feel better.
And then, like, say, if it was a 40 or 50-yard run that ended up in the end zone,
well, that's
awesome. That's pretty good, too. That's awesome. Now, you had, like I said, we had less than 60 yards on the ground last week, but, over right at 1,200 for the season. I look back for the last 10 games, so I was like, let's compute this for what would be a full season. You had 1,932 yards and 22 touchdowns in your last 10 games. Pretty good. That's pretty good stats for a season. I mean, that's averaging 190 yards. That's and 2 touchdowns a game. Pretty good fantasy points. I think we need to start a North Forney fantasy league just so we can pick North Forney players or high school players. Would be a lot of fun. Now you guys are 6-1, which is the first time you've been here that you guys have been 6-1 this deep late. This ever
in the school's history.
And then in the school's history, and obviously doing very well. Second in the district right now, of course, when they do the Division 1 and 2 and whatnot. We'll see how that shakes out when we get to the playoffs. Are you guys, I know you guys are singularly focused on Lucas Lovejoy this week.
Yes.
Now, Lucas Lovejoy, they throw the ball around the yard quite a bit too, so which you guys are familiar with. Mm-hmm. So controlling the clock and keeping them off the field falls heavily usually on the running game. Usually that's what, I know that's what Coach likes. He loves to control the clock. He loves to keep your offense on the field. Unless you get 1-minute drive scoring touchdowns, he's like, all right, cool, we'll go with that. But if he needs to slow the game down, insert Calvin Ribera, insert Nate Miller, insert the running game that has been just as prolific as the passing game this year. How has that been for you, like knowing that this week you could go, 270 yards, 300 plus yards in the first half of a game, or hey, we're gonna get down to the 1-yard line, I'm gonna punch it in less than 60, but we still win.
Honestly, it feels really good just knowing that we have the ability to do that. Like, it's not whenever we're in these situations and coach calls a play, it's not a matter of can he do it. It's a matter of how is he going to do it. How is the offense going to score? It's a matter of we're out there playing the game. We're not worried about, oh my gosh, I hope we can get this drive. Like, we know we're going to do it. It's just a matter of how. So for me, when I'm in and I'm running the ball down the field. And it's tiring, man. It's hard, but it's easier for us to keep their offense off the field. Right. It gives us more opportunities to score, get more plays off. It makes our offense better. It makes our team better as a whole.
How many seconds does coach want between the end of the play and the snap?
We can get
it's like 15
play every 10, 15 seconds.
It's quick.
We want to have the fastest offense in our district.
It's quick. The first game I saw you play this year was I called the second game of the year, and I was exhausted by the end of the game against Creekview because your offense is trucking it. As a player, though, I know that coach, when he came in the offseason, these guys ran for days upon days on track. You did track drills.
Oh yeah, the first day he showed up, we ran 3 200s, and it tested a lot of people.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know what track drills are, they get on the track and they sprint. And it's like we're going to keep doing this until you can all keep up and do it. And that's a lot of work.
It's tough.
But once you guys were there, you guys went on to game planning and running your offense, and it's up tempo. And you practice the same way that you play on the field.
Yeah, and we have to practice like that, because if you don't, you're going to get out of shape, and then we won't be able to keep up with how fast we play. Like if we don't practice hard and go hard, we're only hurting ourselves. In order to get the defense to be tired and to gas them, we got to be in tip-top shape. In our practice and how we practice is how we're going to play. And the games for us, it's a lot slower. It feels a lot slower than our practices, and it needs to be like that.
Well, and you pound a team and pound a team and pound a team, like you say, to wear them out. 4.5 minutes into the game last week, you guys were up 22-0. Mm-hmm. And when you're up that big on a team, it mentally, for them, they give in.
Yeah.
And then physically, it didn't take long after that you guys were scoring again, and they're out of it at that point. And you guys do it. Now this week, you guys take on Lovejoy, and in the middle, big number 10 committed to Arkansas, bumper pull, back from injury. What have you guys seen that you can say, all right, look, we need to get this guy blocked? Obviously, he's a D1 recruit. He's a great middle linebacker. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. What have you seen that is going to allow you to not only get by him in the running game, but you're also kind of tasked with blocking a little bit for Colby back there, and that's a big dude.
Yeah. For me, if I do my job as a running back and hit it where I need to hit it, follow my blocks, I know my offensive line is going to take care of me. I know that they're going to get him blocked. Sure, he's a great guy. But at the end of the day, he's just a person. He's just another football player, and he can't be stopped. My offensive line is going to do a great job stopping him, and I'm going to do my job. And as far as the run game goes, that's how we're going to be able to get him out of the picture. As far as blocking goes, you can't be scared of someone like that. You can't be scared. You got to bury your head in there, and you got to go do what you're supposed to do what you practice to do.
Well, I expect a big game from you. I feel like you are the key, the running game, and you are the key to this game this weekend. I expect a big game. I'll be in the booth with Wally this week out at Lovejoy calling the game, so I'm excited to see what plays out on the field. Y'all, Calvin Ribera, senior running back, leads the team in rushing touchdowns, and homecoming king. Does this dude have everything or what? Well, not yet. But we'll check it out the second week of December, right?
Yes, sir.
We're looking at it. Guys, Calvin Ribera, we'll see you guys Friday night, Lucas Lovejoy High School. We kick off the Soul Man's Barbecue pregame show on KFNY Sports and True Texas Radio at 7 o'clock. But make it out to the game. I know it's out in Lucas. We know because we had to look on the map to find where we're going to. But you guys come out there with us and enjoy the game. Coming up next, it's Wally, and he's going to break down the game with Lucas Lovejoy. That's next right here on Talon Talk on the KFNY Sports Network.
Wally back with Talon Talk, and it's time to get to this week's opponent, the Lovejoy Leopards, all the way out from Lucas. Nobody even knows where that is. They're coming off a 2-game win streak. That's the good news for them. Bad news for them is that's their only 2 wins of the year. Lovejoy started out the year against Argyle, who is a really, really good 4A team, actually one of the best in the area and state, and started out the loss 42-21 to start the year. Then Lovejoy traveled to Frisco Wakeland. Just about any one of those Frisco schools are really good. And they got shellacked by them 38-21. They also played Frisco Lone Star, who's a team that you probably need to keep an eye on and keep your ear kind of to the ground for, because that could be a future North Forney playoff opponent. Not to get too ahead of ourselves, but they'll get there. But they lost 35-3 against Frisco Lone Star, and Frisco's a really good team. They're ranked highly in the area. Then to start district play, Highland Park put a 50-7 score on them. Then West Mesquite won 30-10, but that game was actually really close. It was 13-10 at halftime, West Mesquite, before they kind of pulled away late. And that'll be North Forney's next week's opponent will be West Mesquite, so it's kind of a good gauge of where they're at against Lovejoy. And then came their 2 wins. Of course, I think most people in this area around the city of Forney knows about their win 2 weeks ago against the Forney Jackrabbits, where they beat them 63-15, kind of out of nowhere. They really put it on Forney. And then they came back and won again last week against Wally East, who's kind of struggling in district, but they did beat them 28-21. They come in with their top quarterback being Carson Collins, who's thrown for over 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns. They're going to be a passing team. They're going to spread it out. A lot of short, quick throws. That's what they did last year. That's what they're doing again. Rushing-wise, their leading running back on the year only has 218 yards. And we'll get to North Forney's running backs and where they're at here in just a little bit. But they've got a couple of running backs that have more yards than their leading rusher for Lovejoy. But that's Jai Rainey with 218 yards, only 2 touchdowns. Nick Garcia with 199 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Hudson Wallace, 141 yards, 0 touchdowns, and no relation. Receiving-wise, they've got a couple of pretty good receivers. One of those being Chase Van Wagner, 520 yards on the year with 5 touchdowns. He's actually a TCU commit. He'll be attending TCU over next. I think he's going to enroll early next spring. He'll be in Fort Worth. Jacob Terwilliger, 483 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's also another big playmaker on the outside. Then they got another couple of guys who kind of make contributions here and there. Bo Lavanelli, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns. Patrick Fisher, 140 yards. And Jake Lavanelli with 128. So they're going to spread the ball out. They're not really going to look to rush unless that's really what you give them. They want to spread you out, a lot of short, quick throws, and hope they can make some big plays off of that and keep you off balance. Now, flipping over to the North Forney side coming into this game, Kobe Suits, 1,700 yards. He's thrown almost 2 full games more worth of yardage than Collins did, and 23 touchdowns, which is over double what Lovejoy has thrown through the air this year. And, of course, my key stat always with Kobe, only 3 interceptions on the year. That's less than half an interception per game. And then you get to rushing. We talked about this a minute ago. How much better North Forney is than Lovejoy on the ground. I think that's going to be the key to this game. Colby Suits, 421 yards rushing, which is more than the Lovejoy leading back. Nate Miller has 396 yards of his own, which is also more than the Lovejoy leading running back. And, of course, not to be outdone, Calvin Ribera, 1,100 yards, over 1,100 yards, which is almost triple, quadruple, whatever the 5 times is, more than the leading Lovejoy running back. Calvin's also got 15 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns to go with that, and Colby has 11 of his own. So it's not even a competition when it comes to the ground game. And receiving-wise for North Forney, Colby Suits even has a touchdown receiving. Let's don't forget that either. Corey Mayfield Jr., 278 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. Jordan Carroll, 572 yards and 7 touchdowns. Jaden Barral, who's really come on the last few weeks, 189 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jackson Innes, 274 yards, 7 touchdowns. And Barclay Ford, of course, 262 yards, a touchdown, and a couple of sacks, and an interception, and a couple of quarterback pressures, because he also plays defense too. Don't forget that. So really when it comes down, this week's matchup with Lovejoy, like I said, both teams can spread you out. Both teams can pass the ball. There's no doubt about that. Lovejoy's really put a couple of good weeks together. It's come against a couple of teams that aren't very good defensively, but they've kind of got their offensive mojo back, and they're going to look to continue that on this week against North Forney. But the Falcons' defense has really played well the last couple of weeks too. Once they switched to that 4-3, they showed how tough they could be against Poteet. They followed that up again last week against Royse City. I would expect much of the same defensively from the Falcons this week against Lovejoy. But I don't expect Lovejoy to keep up with North Forney. This is going to be the theme probably for the rest of the year, at least all the way until they get knocked out or they go to the state. Their offense is going to be able to put points up on the board. Whether they want to spread you out like they did last week against Royse City with Colby and his 5 receivers and throw the ball or run the ball with Colby, or if they want to put Calvin in the backfield and slam it down, they can do that too. And I expect another big game offensively and defensively from the Falcons as they pull out this win. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Talon Talk, and we'll see you next time.